I have no rational explanation for what happened last night. This story didn't scream for attention. But signs were always there, you just need to look closer. This is hidden witness. At 3:06 this morning, I watched myself walk past my bedroom door. The problem, I was already in bed, and I was completely awake. Dark American suburban bedroom at 3:06 a.m. Terrified young man sitting awake in bed, looking toward an open bedroom doorway. An identical shadowy version of himself slowly walking past the doorway, digital alarm clock glowing 3:06 a.m. Moonlight through curtains, realistic psychological horror, cinematic lighting, no gore, 16:9. Not someone who believes in ghosts. I don't believe in demons. I don't believe houses can be haunted. If I hear a strange noise, I look for the source. If a door moves, there's probably a draft. If someone sees a shadow, there's probably a perfectly normal explanation. That's what I believed until last night. I live alone in a small house outside Cleveland, Ohio. It's not an old house. It was built in the early 2000s. The neighborhood is quiet, mostly families, and nothing unusual has ever happened there. Last night started like any other. I got home around 10:30 p.m., made dinner. Watched television, locked the front door, checked the windows, then I went upstairs around midnight. I remember looking at the clock before turning off the light, 12:17 a.m. I fell asleep almost immediately, at least. I thought I did. Quiet suburban house outside Cleveland, Ohio at night, young American man arriving home after work. Parked car in driveway, warm light glowing from windows, peaceful neighborhood, realistic modern American setting, subtle ominous atmosphere, cinematic horror documentary style, 16:9. I woke up sometime after 3 a.m. I didn't know why. There was no nightmare, no loud noise. I simply opened my eyes. My room was completely dark. Then I heard something downstairs. A chair scraping across the kitchen floor, screech. I sat up. My first thought was that someone had broken into the house. I grabbed my phone, no notifications, no calls. I checked the security system. Every door and window showed locked. I waited, nothing. Then I heard it again, scrape this time. It sounded closer. I turned on my bedside lamp. The room looked completely normal. I told myself it was probably the heating system. Then my phone suddenly vibrated. A motion alert. I opened the security app. The camera showed my downstairs hallway, empty. But the motion sensor had detected movement. Inside my house, young man suddenly awake in a dark bedroom at 3 a.m., sitting on edge of bed while listening to an unexplained noise downstairs, smartphone in his hand, digital clock glowing 3:06 a.m., faint moonlight, realistic American home interior, suspenseful psychological horror, 16:9. I grabbed a flashlight. I didn't have a weapon. I didn't even have a baseball bat. I just walked downstairs trying to convince myself that I was being paranoid. Kitchen, empty. Living room, empty. Bathroom, empty. Front door, still locked. Back door, locked. Every window, locked. I checked the basement, nothing. I almost laughed at myself. Then I noticed something, the kitchen chair. It was pulled away from the table. I always pushed my chairs underneath, always. I walked toward it. There was something on the seat. A glass of water. I hadn't put it there. I hadn't even used a glass that night. And the strangest part, the water was still moving. Tiny ripples were spreading across the surface, like someone had just touched the table. I stood there staring at it. Then 3 knocks came from upstairs. Knock, knock, knock. Terrified young man slowly walking through a dark kitchen holding a flashlight, empty living room behind him. One kitchen chair pulled away from the table, glass of water sitting mysteriously on the chair, tiny ripples on the water surface, cinematic, realistic horror. No supernatural creature visible. 16:9. I slowly looked toward the staircase. Every instinct told me to leave the house instead. I went upstairs. The hallway was dark. My bedroom door was open. I knew I had closed it. I always close my bedroom door. I reached the top step. Then I heard something from inside my bedroom. A voice, my voice, it said, "Don't come in." I froze. I couldn't breathe. I stood there for several seconds. Then I heard another voice, also mine, but this one whispered, "He's already here." I ran back downstairs. I grabbed my keys. I opened the front door. And that's when I saw the security camera mounted above my garage. The little red light was blinking. Someone was watching me. Long dark hallway inside an American suburban house. Bedroom door standing open. Frightened young man frozen at the bottom of the stairs. Faint warm light coming from the bedroom. Deep shadows surrounding him. Eerie psychological horror atmosphere. Realistic cinematic photography. 16:9. I checked the security footage on my phone. The camera showed me standing at my front door, but the timestamp said something impossible, 3:06 a.m., and according to the footage, I had been standing there for 11 minutes already. Close-up of a smartphone security camera showing a frightened young man standing at his front door, timestamp reading 06 a.m., a mysterious shadowy figure barely visible behind him, distorted security camera aesthetic, realistic psychological horror. 16:9. I stared at the screen. The footage showed me walking downstairs, then walking into the kitchen, then standing beside the chair, everything I had just done, except. There was something wrong. The person on the camera wasn't moving exactly like me. It was slightly delayed. Raise my hand. A second later, the figure raised its hand. I turned my head. A second later, it turned, like someone was copying me. I watched myself walk toward the front door. The figure stopped, then slowly turned toward the camera and smiled. I wasn't smiling. I was terrified. But the person on the screen was smiling directly into the camera. Then the footage went black. Dark bedroom illuminated only by smartphone screen. Young man watching security camera footage showing an identical version of himself walking through the house. The figure on the screen smiling unnaturally toward the camera. Terrified expression on protagonist's face. Cinematic psychological horror, no gore. 16:9. My phone rang, unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me press accept. I said, "Hello?" Silence, then breathing, slow breathing. I asked, "Who's this?" A voice answered. My voice, "You're not supposed to be awake." I dropped the phone. It landed on the floor. The call ended. I immediately called 911 while I was waiting. I heard footsteps upstairs, slow, heavy, one step at a time, step, pause, step, pause. I stood beside the front door. The police were on their way. Then the footsteps stopped. I waited, nothing then. My bedroom light turned on upstairs. I could see the yellow light spilling into the hallway. Nobody should have been upstairs. Young American man standing frozen in a dark hallway while holding a phone to his ear. Unknown caller on screen. Upstairs, bedroom light suddenly glowing behind him. Long, empty staircase. Tense cinematic horror atmosphere, realistic photography. 16:9. Two officers arrived about 10 minutes later. I explained everything. They searched the entire house. Nothing. No intruder, no broken windows, no damaged locks. Nothing. One officer checked my security system. He said the cameras hadn't recorded anyone entering the property. I showed him the footage. He watched it twice. Then he looked at me. "Have you been drinking tonight?" I said no. He asked if I'd taken anything. Again, no. He didn't accuse me of anything, but I could tell he didn't know what to think. Before leaving, one officer told me, "Get some sleep. You'll probably feel differently in the morning." I wanted to believe him. I really did. Two American police officers searching a suburban house late at night. Flashlights illuminating empty rooms and hallway, worried homeowner explaining what happened, realistic modern police uniforms, respectful cinematic reconstruction, psychological thriller atmosphere, no violence. 16:9. After they left, I went upstairs. My bedroom light was still on. I stood outside the door. Everything looked normal. Then I noticed my bed. The blankets were pulled back. And there was a deep impression on the mattress. Like someone had been lying there recently. I walked closer. My pillow was warm. I touched it. It was warm. I stepped backward. Then my phone buzzed. Another security notification. I opened it. The camera was showing my bedroom, but my camera wasn't supposed to point there. I don't have a camera in my bedroom. The video showed my bed. The exact bed I was standing beside. Then the camera slowly moved and pointed toward the bedroom door, toward me. Dark bedroom with bed covers pulled back and a deep human-shaped impression in the mattress, terrified young man standing beside the bed. Phone glowing in his hand, mysterious security camera notification on screen, moonlight through curtains, realistic psychological horror, no person visible. 16:9. A message appeared on my phone, no number, no sender, just 4 words, "Look under the bed." I couldn't. I stood there staring at the message, then another appeared. "He's still there." I backed away. Another message. "Don't let him see you." I dropped the phone and then something moved beneath my bed, a slow scraping sound like fingernails dragging across the wooden floor. I ran out of the room. I didn't look back. Close-up of smartphone displaying mysterious message. "Look under the bed." Young man's trembling hand holding the phone. Dark bedroom underneath the bed, completely black, subtle shadow emerging from beneath the mattress. Cinematic horror, realistic details, no gore. 16:9. I reached the staircase. Then I heard footsteps behind me, running fast. I turned around, nothing. But when I looked at the security camera on my phone, it showed something standing directly behind me. I couldn't see it with my own eyes. Terrified young man standing on a staircase, looking at his smartphone. Security camera image showing a dark human figure standing directly behind him, even though the hallway behind him appears empty. Eerie digital distortion, realistic psychological horror, cinematic. 16:9. I ran downstairs. I locked myself inside the basement. I know that sounds insane, but I didn't know where else to go. I sat against the wall. My hands were shaking. Then I heard someone walking upstairs, back and forth, then silence. I checked my phone. The security system had gone offline, no cameras, no Wi-Fi, nothing. Then I noticed something. There was an old electrical panel behind me. I opened it. Inside was a small piece of paper, folded several times. I pulled it out. There was handwriting on it. My handwriting, it said. If you're reading this, you already forgot. I stared at the words. I didn't remember writing them. But I recognized every letter. Dark, unfinished basement beneath an American suburban house. Terrified young man sitting against concrete wall. Old electrical panel behind him. Single flickering bulb overhead. Heavy shadows surrounding the room. Claustrophobic psychological horror atmosphere. Cinematic realism. 16:9. I found an old laptop on a shelf. It belonged to the previous homeowner. I had never used it. I turned it on. There was one video file, no title, just a date. October 17, 2019. I pressed play. A man appeared on the screen. He was sitting in the same basement. He looked exhausted, terrified, and then he said, "If you're seeing this." He paused. "You've probably already heard the footsteps." I stopped breathing. He continued. I thought I was losing my mind too. Then he looked directly into the camera. "Whatever you do, don't answer when it speaks with your voice." The video ended. Old laptop sitting on a dusty basement table, screen showing a frightened man recording himself from years earlier. Old date visible on video. Protagonist watching the screen in fear, dark basement surroundings, realistic cinematic horror, slightly nostalgic digital video appearance. 16:9. I sat there in silence. Then, knock, knock, knock. The sound came from the basement door. I didn't move. Another 3 knocks, then a voice, my voice. "Open the door." I covered my mouth. The voice spoke again. "Please." Then, "I know you're scared." Then, "I'm you." I started crying because I knew something the voice didn't. The real me was already inside the basement. Basement door viewed from inside a dark room. Terrified young man sitting on floor staring toward the door. 3 subtle impact marks suggesting knocking. Faint shadow underneath the door. Tense atmosphere. Realistic psychological horror cinematography. No gore. 16:9. Then my phone turned on by itself. The screen showed the security camera feed. It was the basement. I could see myself sitting against the wall, but there was another person sitting beside me. It was wearing my clothes, and it was smiling. Smartphone screen showing security camera footage of a dark basement. Protagonist sitting against the wall while an identical version of himself sits directly beside him. The duplicate smiling unnaturally. Protagonist unaware inside the footage. Disturbing psychological horror. Cinematic realism. 16:9. I don't remember what happened after that. That's the part I can't explain. I woke up at 7:42 a.m. I was lying on the living room floor. The front door was open. The police were outside. Apparently a neighbor had found me unconscious. They asked what happened. I told them everything. They searched the house again. Nothing. No second person. No hidden room. No evidence. No explanation. The basement door was still locked. The old laptop was gone, and the piece of paper was gone too. The police told me I was probably suffering from extreme sleep deprivation. Maybe they were right. Maybe my brain created everything. Maybe I had some kind of nightmare while half awake. There is probably a rational explanation. There has to be. Early morning inside an American suburban house. Police officers standing near an open front door. Confused and exhausted young man sitting on living room floor. Sunlight entering through windows after a terrifying night. Realistic cinematic reconstruction. Subdued atmosphere. 16:9. I moved out 3 days later. I haven't gone back. I changed my phone number, deleted the security app, and I stopped sleeping alone for weeks. Nothing happened. Then yesterday, I received a package. No return address. Inside was my old house key and a small piece of paper. 4 words were written on it. "You forgot last night." I stared at it for a long time, then my phone buzzed. A new video had appeared in my camera roll. I didn't record it. The video was only 12 seconds long. It showed my old bedroom. The camera was sitting on the floor. The room was empty. Then, at the very end, someone slowly walked into frame. It was me, wearing the exact clothes I wore the night I left. He looked directly into the camera and whispered, "You shouldn't have left me." The video ended. I still don't have a rational explanation for what happened that night, and honestly, I'm not sure I want one anymore, because if there really was something in that house, I don't think it stayed there. Empty bedroom at night, camera positioned low in the corner as if someone is secretly watching. Identical shadowy figure slowly entering the room. Digital clock showing 3:06 a.m., cold moonlight, unsettling silence, realistic psychological horror, cinematic final shot, no gore. 16:9. Have you ever experienced something you absolutely couldn't explain? Tell us your story in the comments. Maybe your experience has an explanation. Maybe it doesn't. But if there's one thing we've learned, not every witness is telling the whole story. This is Hidden Witness. Like, share, and subscribe for more dark mysteries and terrifying stories, because every mystery leaves behind a hidden witness. Thanks for watching. If you saw what others missed, join the hidden witness. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the shadows.